Welcome to Common Pitfalls. Today we're going to talk about asking questions. Asking questions is very, very important. And new instructors a lot of times feel intimidated by asking questions. Our society tends to isolate individuals and encourage them to be self-sufficient. It's almost a virtue to be independent and not ask anyone else for help. So in this program, I just want to validate that if you have questions, you need to get them answered. That's one of the main reasons we created the P3 program, because it's very important when you're going through teacher training that you get your questions answered as you're applying the material. Not just when you first learn it, but when you get to being with the clients, teaching them, seeing what happens, then much more questions start to come up and you want to have a resource to get those answered. So we've created quite a few different ways for you to utilize that you can get your questions answered. So of course we have our office hours where you can call in and ask your questions live, and that's a great resource because if you have the question, most likely somebody else does too. You also can look back on the other frequently asked questions and office hours to find the answers to your questions, but you also have lots of different resources with the videos, and you can always email. You have lots of different instructors around you that you have on the P3 program and the different forums and such that you can ask questions. So you want to ask, what is the nature of my question? Is this something technical that I need a teacher trainer to answer? Or is this something that is more opinion based that I might want to get several people's answers and see, how that relates to my personality? And I just encourage you to do that. So when you're teaching, make sure that you start to ask questions. So this is really important. A lot of people just kind of breeze through and they're just kind of taking it all in and they just kind of look like a deer in the headlights, and they don't take time to stop and formulate their questions. And if you don't actually formulate questions, probably you're not thinking things through thoroughly enough to make sure that you know how to apply it when you go out and teach. So write things down, take notes. We've talked about taking notes in the observation hours and taking notes and things when you're doing self-practice, and then even just writing some things down when you're done teaching an hour. Because a lot of times when you're teaching, something might come up that you want to think about later and you might have another client afterwards. So take a little note or two to ask this question later, things that might have come up. Those kinds of details and note-taking and question-asking are what's going to take your teaching to a much deeper place. The more you really search your soul and go through the exercises and figure out where your confusing spots are, that's going to be really, really helpful. So make sure you know all the ins and outs of the exercises and different thoughts on teaching different types of clients and etiquette in the studio and all sorts of things, but use this opportunity. This is a great opportunity when you're in training. You have an excuse. You're in training. You don't know everything, and everyone is there to help you. I can't stress enough that if you are feeling like, this is a dumb question, somebody has had that question before, and the only dumb question is the one that isn't asked.